All right, so everyone get ready because this time we're taking a deep dive into Spanish La Liga. We've got a ton of material to go through, Spanish language sports, radio, and YouTube commentary, all that good stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Really heated debates, passionate opinions,
Yeah, it's a gold mine.
all focusing on this season, all focusing on what's going on right now.
And, this season has been, I don't know about you, but I think it's been anything but predictable.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, we're seeing nail-biting finishes, controversial calls, all this drama, enough to fuel a whole season of a telenovela.
Totally. Anyone out there who hasn't been like totally glued to the standings, this La Liga title race, it's a three-way showdown.
It really is.
Barcelona, Real Madrid, and Atletico Madrid. And it is insanely close. I mean,
It's so close.
I don't think I've ever seen anything like it.
Yeah, I mean, at this point in the season, we're usually used to seeing at least one of those teams, pulling ahead a little bit.
Right, exactly.
But this year, it's like every other week they're trading the lead.
Yeah, it's back and forth. Like to give you a sense of just how unusual this is,
Yeah.
Barcelona and Atletico Madrid, both of them lost to Leganes.
Yeah, Leganes. I mean, that just goes to show you, right, how unpredictable it's been. These upsets are like, they're throwing everyone's predictions completely out the window.
Yeah.
Which, honestly, is what makes it so exciting to follow.
Oh, I'm glued to it, I'm telling you. Okay, well, speaking of unexpected twists, let's talk about this whole Jude Bellingham situation.
Oh, yeah.
For anyone who needs a reminder, he's that young English star playing for Real Madrid.
Real Madrid, yeah.
And he kind of got himself into some hot water recently with this red card.
He did. And, this incident happened after a, pretty controversial non-call by the referee. And you can hear it in Bellingham's voice in these clips we have. The frustration,
Yeah.
And he just shouts, "Fuck off," and boom, red card.
And that is where things get really interesting because you've got this whole debate, this huge debate erupting over whether that red card was actually justified.
Yeah, I mean,
like
on the one hand, you've got people saying, look, no matter how frustrated you are,
right.
You just can't talk to the officials like that,
It's about respecting the authority of the referee.
Right. But then on the other hand, you have people arguing that, look, Bellingham is coming from this English football culture, right? So maybe he used that phrase, I don't know, more as just like an exclamation, like, "Oh, come on," or disbelief,
right,
rather than an actual direct insult at the referee.
It's a good point. It's nuanced.
Yeah.
And even Cristiano Ronaldo, who's played in both England and Spain, he even weighed in saying that the context really matters when it comes to, language and football.
Yeah.
So there's that. But then to make things even more complicated.
Right.
Bellingham issued this public apology after the whole incident.
Right.
Which, now that could factor into his potential suspension.
Yeah, that's right. It's just another layer on top of everything else.
Yeah.
But this whole incident, it seems to have kind of like tacked into this larger frustration that's been brewing within Real Madrid. I don't know if you've sensed that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's like it's not just about this one incident.
From what I'm seeing, yeah, there's definitely a sense, and I'm getting this from the sources, that they believe there's some kind of referee bias going on that's working against them.
They think they're being targeted.
Yeah.
And they point to a bunch of different examples, like there's non-penalties that they think probably should have been called, some questionable red cards, VAR decisions that went against them.
Mm.
And it's all just created this feeling that they're being treated unfairly.
Yeah. And it was all kind of power ahead when Real Madrid, they actually went and called this meeting.
Right.
With the referees committee, the CTA.
Yeah.
That's a pretty bold move.
It's a bold move. And the sources we have, they're kind of split.
Oh, really?
On how to interpret it.
Interesting.
Some of them see it as like a genuine attempt, to address what they see as a systemic problem.
Right.
But then, others see it as more of a publicity stunt.
Uh-huh.
Like Real Madrid's trying to, put pressure on the referees and the CTA, but publicly.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like the $1 million question then, will any of these complaints, will they actually lead to any real changes?
I don't know.
In how the league is officiated?
That's really hard to say. I mean, it could lead to, more scrutiny on the referees, maybe some adjustments to how the rules are being interpreted. But it could also just make the existing tension even worse.
It could, yeah, it could. And all of this is, of course, happening against this backdrop of the Negreira case.
Oh, yeah.
this where Barcelona is actually being investigated
Right.
for payments to a former refereeing official, and it's just added this whole other layer of mistrust and suspicion onto everything.
Exactly. Like everyone started to just question the integrity of the game.
Yeah, yeah. Now, while all that's happening, while Real Madrid's dealing with all that, Barcelona has been facing kind of a different challenge. They've been playing all their home games in this temporary stadium,
Right.
while the iconic Camp Nou is undergoing these massive renovations.
Yeah.
It's been a weird sight
It's been strange. Yeah.
seeing Barcelona away from their legendary home ground.
Yeah. It doesn't feel right.
But the good news is, at least for fans,
Mm.
is that it sounds like they're expected to return to Camp Nou very soon.
Yeah. And get this,
Uh-huh.
the grand reopening, it could coincide with the Barcelona versus Real Madrid match.
Oh, wow.
I mean, talk about a homecoming.
That would be unbelievable.
I mean, that match is always a spectacle.
Always.
But with Barcelona returning to their newly renovated stadium, the atmosphere is going to be absolutely electric.
Oh, yeah. It makes you wonder, though, if that could actually give Barcelona a bit of a psychological edge in the title race.
It might.
A new stadium, a roaring home crowd.
Right.
That's got to count for something.
It definitely could. I mean, there's been a lot of talk about how these renovations are gonna, they're gonna improve the fan experience, which could lead to a more intimidating atmosphere, for
Right.
opposing teams, and who knows,
Right.
maybe they'll even give Barcelona a performance boost. I mean, it's possible.
I did find it hilarious, though, that some of the commentators are joking that the new Camp Nou,
Oh yeah.
it looks suspiciously like the stadium of their rivals, Espanyol.
Oh, the irony. Can you imagine? I'm sure that's not going down too well with some of the Barcelona supporters. But
Oh,
but rivalries aside, it just goes to show you,
yeah.
how much attention this whole Camp Nou project is actually getting.
Yeah. But as exciting as this whole Camp Nou return is,
Right.
we can't forget about this Negreira case
Right.
and the shadow that it's casting, because, it really could have some serious consequences for Barcelona,
Mm-hmm.
even if they win the title.
Yeah. And just to quickly recap for anyone who's not familiar, this case involves Barcelona being investigated for these payments that were made to Jose Maria Enriquez Negreira, who was a former vice president of the referees committee.
Right.
And it's raised suspicions of match fixing, corruption, all that.
And the potential fallout from this it's huge.
Huge.
I mean, we're talking like fines, point deductions, maybe even like exclusion from competitions entirely.
Yeah, and it's really sent shockwaves through Spanish football. I mean, it's a huge scandal.
It is, and it really it plays into this current climate of mistrust towards referees, especially from Real Madrid.
Yeah,
Like their sense of being targeted.
it makes it worse.
It just feels even more justified when you have this ongoing investigation into potential corruption.
Exactly.
It makes you wonder, though, if Barcelona does manage to win the league,
Hmm?
will their achievement even be overshadowed by this whole scandal?
I don't know. It's tough.
It's a good question.
It's a really tough question to answer. I mean, this is a situation where there are no easy answers, and it's something that's going to generate controversy for a long time.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, it's hard to like fully celebrate a victory when there's this cloud hanging over it.
Yeah, no, totally. And it's not even just the Negreira case, right? I mean, this whole season has been a whirlwind of drama. I mean, you think about Bellingham's red card, you think about Real Madrid's complaints about the refs, and it just makes you wonder, like, will this season even be remembered more for the football itself or for all the controversy surrounding it?
That's a good point. A really good point. But speaking of Bellingham and that red card, you are not going to believe this. I was looking through some old stuff, some archives,
Oh, yeah.
and it turns out an almost identical incident
What?
happened back in 1990.
No way.
I know, right? Crazy.
What are the odds?
It's nuts. So there was this Danish player, Lars Elstrup, and he was playing for Odense. And they were playing in a UEFA Cup match against, get this, Real Madrid.
Get out of here. So the team Bellingham plays for, now they were involved in the original incident.
I know, right? It's too weird. But it gets even stranger.
Okay.
Just like Bellingham, Elstrup got a red card in the dying minutes of the game for shouting, you guessed it, fuck off.
So we've got a Danish player for Odense getting a red card for saying fuck off to the ref in a match against Real Madrid, and then like almost 35 years later, an English player for Real Madrid gets carded for the exact same thing.
I know, right? Uncanny.
This cannot be a coincidence.
It makes you think, about how these debates about language and culture and how the rules are applied, you know, they just keep coming up again and again,
It's true.
decade after decade.
Yeah, it's like they're stuck in some kind of like football time loop.
Totally.
Okay, but hold on. What happened after Elstrup got that red card back in 1990? Like, did it actually affect the outcome of the match?
Big time. Big time. So Real Madrid had won the first leg of the tie, 1-0, so I think they were the favorites going into the second leg. And then Elstrup gets that red card in the 88th minute right after he scored a goal
Oh
to
no.
put Odense ahead 1-0.
So not only did that red card potentially shift the momentum, but Odense lost their goal scorer too.
Exactly. And this was back when away goals carried a lot more weight, right? So Elstrup's goal would have tied the aggregate score, maybe even forced extra time. But with him off the pitch, Real Madrid scored a last-minute goal,
Oh man.
1-2-1, and they advanced.
Wow. I mean, what a dramatic turn of events.
Crazy, right?
It makes you wonder if history could repeat itself with Bellingham and Real Madrid. You
Mm-hmm.
know, they've got that Champions League tie coming up against Manchester City.
It's true. It's true. And speaking of Manchester City, it sounds like Pep Guardiola is up to his old tricks again.
Oh yeah, what's he doing?
He's trying to do mind games with Real Madrid.
Uh-huh. I can already picture that mischievous grin of his.
I know, right? So after they lost the first leg at the Bernabeu,
Uh-huh.
Guardiola has been out there like publicly downplaying his team's chances, like saying that, oh, the tie's basically over. They've only got a 1% chance of winning, all that.
Oh, come on. I mean, this is Pep Guardiola and Manchester City we're talking about. He can't seriously believe that.
No, of course not.
Right.
It's classic Guardiola. Our sources are suggesting that this is just him, trying to lower expectations and take the pressure off his players.
Right.
It's just a mind game, trying to gain a psychological edge.
So he's trying to lull Real Madrid into a false sense of security, like make them think that they've already won, so they come out complacent in the second leg.
Exactly. And he's even been like keeping praise on Real Madrid, calling them the best team in the world at closing out Champions League ties, especially at home.
Okay. Smooth. But I bet Carlo Ancelotti, Real Madrid's manager, he's not falling for it.
I don't think so.
I mean, he's seen it all before, right?
He's a veteran, he's a seasoned veteran.
And he knows exactly how Guardiola operates. Okay, but enough about mind games. Let's talk about something that could actually really shake up like the entire football world, the Super League.
Oh, yeah,
It keeps popping up in these
it
sources.
does.
And it sounds like the idea is not dead yet.
It's like that concept that just won't go away.
It won't die.
Remember back in 2021, that original plan for a breakaway competition with all these elite European clubs,
Right.
it just imploded.
It did.
I mean, there were fan protests, legal challenges,
Crazy.
the whole 9 yards.
But it sounds like some of those clubs,
Mhm.
especially like those big names, Real Madrid, Barcelona,
Yeah,
they haven't given up on the idea.
they haven't. And while there's nothing concrete in the works right now, there are definitely whispers that those clubs are still, looking at alternative options, for a Super League type competition.
I mean, I get it. I get why the big clubs would want to create this more, exclusive, the more lucrative tournament, but they're going to face a lot of resistance, like they did last time.
They will.
Fans, UEFA, even some national governments have made it clear that they're going to fight tooth and nail to protect the existing structure of football. So what are these alternative options for a Super League 2.0? Like, what ideas are even floating around out there?
Well, one idea that's been mentioned is a more regionalized Super League. So maybe you would just focus on Spanish teams,
Okay.
and that might allow those clubs to make more money without completely ditching La Liga.
But wouldn't that still create this huge imbalance within the Spanish league? I mean, you'd have the small group of elite clubs just pulling even further away from the rest.
Yeah, that's exactly the concern, and that's why this idea is already facing a lot of pushback
Right.
from the smaller clubs.
Yeah, of course.
because they're worried about being left behind, losing their competitive edge.
It's a tough situation. I mean, these clubs want to make more money,
Mhm.
but they also have to think about the impact that this would have on the sport as a whole.
Of course.
Right? Like alienating the fans,
Hmm.
weakening domestic leagues. I mean, all of that could backfire on them big time.
It's a huge gamble.
Yeah.
And when you think about everything else that's going on, right?
Right.
The Bellingham controversy, the Negreira case, even the whole debate about Real Madrid and the referees, it feels like the football world is already on edge.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
and adding a Super League on top of that in any form, it could really, really shake things up.
Yeah, it just sounds like a recipe for even more drama and controversy. But hey, I mean, that's what keeps us coming back for more, right?
That is true. The passion, the rivalries, the unpredictable
It's
moments,
all good.
that's what makes it so captivating.
Absolutely. Before we move on though, I have to ask about something that kind of caught my eye in some of this material.
Yeah.
This whole discussion about Spanish players versus their English counterparts. It seems like there's this perception out there that English players might actually be outshining the Spaniards.
Yeah, it's an interesting observation. It does make you wonder, I mean, is there really a talent gap? And if so, what's causing it?
Yeah, well, some of the commentators were pointing to Spain's recent struggles on the international stage. They failed to get past the round of 16 in the last two World Cups,
Right.
and they kind of see that as evidence of this decline in the quality of Spanish players.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's one way to look at it, I guess. But football it's cyclical, right? I mean, remember Spain had that incredible run of dominance between 2008 and 2012, winning 2 Euros and a World Cup. It's natural for there to be some fluctuations in the talent pool.
True, true, but you can't deny that England seems to be going through a bit of a resurgence right now,
Yeah,
with a bunch of young talent coming up. I mean, they made it to the semifinals of the 2018 World Cup,
right.
the final of Euro 2020. That's got to mean something.
And there's this theory going around that the English Premier League, which is arguably the most competitive and popular league in the world,
Mm-hmm.
it might actually be contributing to England's success.
Oh,
The
interesting.
idea is that having all these international stars playing in the Premier League, it creates a more challenging
Right.
and developmental environment for those young English players.
That makes sense. I mean, imagine being a young English player and getting to train and compete against some of the best players in the world
Right.
week in and week out.
Every week.
I mean, that's gotta accelerate your development.
Yeah, it's definitely something to think about.
Yeah.
So is it a real talent gap, or is this just like a snapshot in time, like a reflection of where each national team is right now? I mean, it's a debate that's going to rage on,
Yeah.
and it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out on the international stage.
Absolutely. Okay, but let's circle back to Barcelona for a second
Mhm.
and their much anticipated return to Camp Nou. I mean, it feels like they've been playing in exile forever.
Yeah, it has been a long wait for the fans, but it sounds like this new Camp Nou is going to be worth it.
It does.
The renovations are supposed to be transformative.
From what I've gathered, I mean, we're talking like a state-of-the-art roof, wider seats, better accessibility, tons of new amenities, entertainment options. It's going to be like a footballing paradise.
It sounds pretty incredible. And the timing really could be better, right? With the potential reopening coinciding with that Barcelona versus Real Madrid match,
Right.
that's going to be like historic.
Can you imagine the atmosphere?
Oh
A
man.
packed house, two of the biggest rivals in the world, all in this brand new state-of-the-art stadium. It's almost symbolic, like a new era for Barcelona.
Mhm.
A chance for them to reassert their dominance.
It definitely has that feel to it. And with Barcelona at the top of the table right now,
Hmm.
this return to Camp Nou, it could be exactly the boost they need to actually secure the title.
Yeah, you're right. It's gonna be fascinating to see how it all plays out. Like, will the new stadium actually give them that extra edge?
We'll have to see. But
Yeah.
even beyond the sporting implications,
Right.
this new Camp Nou, it's a big deal, financially.
Oh yeah.
I mean, a world-class stadium like that is going to attract even more fans,
Mm-hmm.
generate some serious revenue for the club.
That's a good point. I mean, Barcelona's, they've been dealing with some financial challenges lately.
Yeah.
So the revenue from the new Camp Nou could really help them, turn things around and invest back in their squad.
It's a game changer on multiple levels. I mean, the sporting impact, the financial impact, even the emotional impact on the fans. It's all huge.
Yeah, it's massive. But speaking of Barcelona's finances, we can't ignore the elephant in the room here, the Negreira case.
Yeah, that's a dark cloud hanging over the club right now.
Yeah, and just to quickly recap, I mean, Barcelona is being investigated for payments that they made to Jose Maria Enriquez Negreira, who was the former vice president of the referees committee.
Hmm.
And these payments have sparked some serious concerns
Yeah.
about potential match fixing and
Yeah,
corruption, and the investigation is still ongoing, by the way.
it is.
This is a scandal that has really shaken Spanish football. I mean, it makes you question everything that happened during the period those payments were made.
Yeah, it does.
And the potential consequences for Barcelona are huge. I mean, we're talking fines, point deductions, maybe even being kicked out of competitions entirely.
It's true.
It's just a reminder that even the biggest, the most successful clubs in the world are not immune to controversy.
Definitely. And it really highlights the importance of transparency and accountability, especially in a sport that's as big and influential as football.
Absolutely. You know, something I found interesting in some of these sources is how how Barcelona's president Joan Laporta, he's been downplaying this whole thing,
Yeah.
claiming that the payments were just for, consultancy services.
Yeah, he's been adamant that there was no wrongdoing, that the payments were completely legitimate.
But the timing of those payments, the fact that they were going to a former refereeing official, I mean,
Uh,
it's all a bit suspicious, don't you think?
it's definitely raised some eyebrows. Hopefully the investigation will get to the bottom of it and we'll finally know what really happened.
Yeah, yeah. But until then, that that cloud of suspicion kind of remains,
Mhm.
which is a shame because this should be a time of celebration for Barcelona with the
Mhm.
return to Camp Nou, their strong position in the league.
Of course, yeah.
It's a complex situation. I mean, Barcelona is innocent until proven guilty, but the allegations are serious and they can't just be ignored.
Yeah, it's true.
It's a story that's going to continue to unfold, and it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out and what impact it ultimately has on Barcelona.
Definitely. But let's shift gears for a moment
Yeah.
and talk about the thing that everyone's glued to, this insane La Liga title race.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been a roller coaster with Barcelona, Real Madrid, and Atletico Madrid all still in the mix.
It really has.
I mean, each team has its strengths,
Hmm.
its weaknesses, and it honestly feels like any one of them could take the title.
Yeah, it's anyone's game at this point.
Yeah. So let's break it down. So Barcelona, like we've been discussing, I mean, they're at the top of the table right now, and
Mhm.
and they're looking pretty strong. I mean, their attack led by Lewandowski, they're scoring goals for fun, and then you've got Pedri and Gavi, they're young midfielders. They're already world
Yeah,
class.
they're fantastic.
But they've also shown some vulnerabilities because, right, like those surprising losses to teams like Leganes and Las Palmas,
Mhm.
and then there's the Negreira case hanging over their heads, which creates all this pressure and all this uncertainty.
Of course. Yeah.
And then you've got Real Madrid,
Right.
the perennial powerhouse. I mean, even with all the referee drama and their recent kind of dip in form, I mean, you can never count them out.
Never.
I mean, their squad is still stacked with Benzema, Modric, Vinicius Jr. The list goes on, and they know how to win trophies, especially in the Champions League.
Yeah,
That experience, it gives them a real psychological edge.
it does.
And then you've got Atletico Madrid, kind
Right.
of the dark horse of the title race.
Mm.
Diego Simeone has built this team that is known for their defensive solidity, their tactical discipline.
Yeah, they're tough to break down.
Yeah, yeah. They might not have the same firepower as Barcelona or Real Madrid going
Yeah.
forward, but they know how to grind out results
Yeah.
and stay in the hunt. And that loss to Leganes, it was definitely a setback, but they've bounced back from adversity before.
They have. They have. It's honestly one of the most exciting title races, I think, in Europe right now.
Oh, absolutely.
Maybe even the world.
Yeah, yeah. It really does feel like anyone's game. And with so many factors at play,
Hmm.
form, injuries, refereeing decisions, all the off-field drama,
Hmm.
it's impossible to predict who's going to come out on top.
It's true. And it's a testament to how competitive La Liga is this season, that even with all the controversy and the distractions, the football itself has been top-notch.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We've seen some incredible matches.
Hmm.
Stunning goals, moments of brilliance that have, they've left us speechless.
It's been amazing.
Yeah, as we head into this final stretch of the season,
Hmm.
the stakes are only going to get higher. Every match is going to be a battle. Every goal is going to be precious. Every point is going to be crucial.
It's going to be a photo finish.
It's going to be, yeah, it's going to be a photo finish for sure. But, even with all the focus on the title race,
Hmm.
there are some individual players out there that are making headlines
Right.
of their own. And one name that keeps coming up
Hmm.
in all these sources, it's Vinicius Jr.
Oh, yeah.
He's that electrifying, sometimes controversial winger
Right.
for Real
Oh, it's
Madrid.
Real Madrid, yeah.
And he just seems to be this lightning rod for both praise and criticism.
He is. He is. He's a special talent, that's for sure. He's got incredible skill, lightning pace, and he can just produce these moments of magic that just leave you in awe.
Yeah, but he's also known for having, a bit of a temper,
Hmm.
for getting into it with opponents, and for sometimes, I don't know, like overreacting to fouls.
It's true. And that's part of what makes him such a fascinating figure. Some people, they see him as a future Ballon d'Or winner, a
Hmm.
player who can win games single-handedly.
Hmm.
But then others, they think he needs to mature a bit, control his emotions better.
Yeah. One stat that really jumped out at me from these
Yeah.
sources is that Vinicius has racked up like a whopping 38 yellow cards
Wow.
and 3 red cards
That's a lot.
in just a season and a half in La Liga.
Yeah, it is. It is. And it just shows that he's constantly pushing the boundaries,
Right.
walking that fine line between what's acceptable and what's not.
And it kind of feeds into this bigger conversation, right? About how referees are handling like the physicality, the intensity of the
Hmm.
league. Is Vinicius being unfairly targeted,
Hmm.
or is he just not adapting to how the game is played here?
It's a tough one. I mean, on one hand, there's no doubter Vinicius, he often faces some really rough tackles
Oh yeah.
from opponents.
Hmm.
And he's been pretty vocal about about the lack of protection he feels he gets from the refs.
Yeah, yeah. But then again, some people argue that he makes himself a target, by exaggerating contact, by going down too easily.
It's a bit of a chicken and egg situation.
Yeah, yeah. Is he the victim or is he provoking opponents?
Right.
Maybe it's a bit of both.
Maybe.
Yeah,
Maybe.
but whatever your opinion is, you can't deny that Vinicius is one of the most exciting players
Oh, for
to
sure.
watch in La Liga. He's
Absolutely.
box office. He can change a game in a heartbeat.
He can. He really can.
I've got to admit, I'm kind of pulling for him.
Yeah.
He's got so much potential, and it would be amazing to see him reach the heights that people think he's capable of.
I get that. There's something about his story, his talent, that just it draws you in.
Okay, so we've talked about the title race, the controversies, the standout players. It feels like we've covered just about everything there is to cover about this La Liga season.
It has been quite a journey from the highs of Barcelona's return to Camp Nou
Mm.
to the lows of the Negreira cave. I mean, we've seen it all.
Yeah, we really have.
And through it all, the football itself has been absolutely captivating.
Oh, it's been a wild ride, that's for sure. But, before we wrap things up, there's one last thing I wanted to touch on.
Okay.
It's something that came up a few times in these sources,
Hmm.
and it's something for all of us to think about, I think, as we head into the final stretch of the season.
What's that?
It's this idea that with all the focus on the drama, the controversies, the refereeing decisions, all of that, we might be losing sight of the beauty of the game itself.
It's an interesting point. So you're saying, are we getting so caught up in who's being wrong, who's getting the advantage, that we're forgetting to simply appreciate the skill, the athleticism, the incredible moments that these players produce?
Exactly. And it's not just the fans, right? It feels like even the commentators, the analysts, everyone is getting sucked into this drama.
Yeah, it's easy to get swept up in the narrative, to focus on the controversies, but at the end of the day, football it's about so much more than that. It's about the artistry, the passion, the moments of brilliance that make you jump out of your seat.
Yeah. So as we watch these final matches unfold, as the title race comes down to the wire, let's try to do it with a renewed sense of appreciation for the game itself. Let's celebrate the talent, the dedication, the moments of magic that make football such a special sport.
Couldn't agree more.
And on that note, it's time to wrap up this deep dive into the heart of La Liga. It's been a pleasure dissecting all the twists and turns with you.
Likewise, it's been a fascinating conversation.
To all our listeners out there, thanks for joining us on this wild ride through La Liga. We'll be back soon with another deep dive, so stay tuned.